If you're listening to this podcast, it means you're hungry. Hungry for change, hungry for growth, and ready to have a major breakthrough in your business. As a partner or founder in more than a dozen businesses that do more than $5 billion in revenue each year, Tony Robbins has learned from the best in the world, the Steve Wyns, Mark Benioffs, and Peter Gubers, what it takes to be successful. Whether you've been in business for decades or are just getting started, it's important to get help from someone who's been there, someone who's going to coach you through it. That's why Tony is offering a free one-on-one business strategy session from one of his top business strategists, a $600 value. Completely free, no strings attached. If you're listening right now, go to TonyRobbins.com/CEO and sign up for a free session with a Tony Robbins trained business strategist who's helped business owners just like you to overcome their obstacles and set them on the path to success. In a world where 96% of businesses fail after 10 years, you must know how to anticipate and how to take advantage. Take advantage of this offer today.
Hi, this is Tony Robbins. Welcome back to the podcast. Listen, this is one of the most important podcasts I can put out, and that's saying a lot. And the reason is because I'm going to introduce you to a gentleman who's also going to share with you about a technology that is truly one of the most disruptive advances, I think, in technology that we've seen. This is something that's going to take the world by storm. It's a blockbuster shift in industry. Some things like professional sports, entertainment, movies, concert viewership are all about to undergo a complete transformation. You mark my words on this. And if you're going to be an effective business owner, the whole secret is to understand where the world is going. This technology is going to shake up even the education industry. It'll blow the roof off the possibilities for your business. But listen to me. Before we begin talking about the technology, I want to talk to you about what's behind the importance of understanding this technology. And that's a very important and simple principle. It's the one skill that every successful business person I know has in common. The most profitable entrepreneurs to the best investors share with us. And what is that common denominator? They all understand the power of anticipation. See, for nearly 40 years, I've had the privilege to coach some of the world's top owners, multi-billionaires, businessmen, geniuses, people like Mark Benioff of Salesforce.com or Las Vegas hotel magnate Steve Wynn. You know, guys like this have built their businesses by anticipating, noticing a pattern that's happening in society, seeing an opportunity to meet a need, and once they see that pattern and anticipate what's going on, they skate to where the puck is going. They don't skate to where the puck is, as you're probably familiar with when they asked many years ago, one of the greatest players in the history of hockey, Wayne Gretzky, what is it? You're not the biggest guy out there. You're not the strongest. You're not the fastest. How come you're the best in the NHL? Maybe one of the best in history. And that's when you heard that phrase. He'd say, listen, I think most people skate to where the puck is. I skate to where the puck is going. And so this whole process of anticipation is the greatest advantage. It was true when I was writing my book, Money Master the Game. You know, I spent 4 years interviewing the most elite financial players on the planet. I'm talking about Carl Icahn, Ray Dalio, Jack Bogle, Charles Schwab, Paul Tudor Jones. And the one thing they all have in common is the same as the best business people. They all understand that losers react and leaders anticipate. See, the ultimate power is in anticipation, not just because the world is an ever-changing place, but because the drivers of change in the world are constantly evolving. Things happen that change the course and direction of business and life and society. And if you can wade through the currents of change and get an understanding of where things are going, it gives you an unfair advantage in the business marketplace. And so I give you an example. I believe so strongly in the importance of anticipation that it usually stands at the core of almost every significant business decision that I make. In fact, about 2 years ago, I made a rather large decision. It was to become a partner and an owner in one of the Major League Soccer's expansion teams, the LA Football Club, or LAFC. And I had this unique opportunity to not only invest to become an owner in this company, in this team, but also a chance to work with just an incredible group of like-minded investors and owners along with me, one of which is one of my dearest friends in the world, Peter Guber. You may know his name because he owns the Golden State Warriors and the LA Dodgers. He's ranked number 10 on worth 60 most powerful people in sports. So why did Peter and I decide to invest in an expansion soccer team in a city that already has a great team? Well, consider the facts. If you're going to be a person that anticipates, you have to notice patterns, and you have to take advantage of the patterns that you see in business. So, for example, in Los Angeles, of all the major sports franchises, Los Angeles seems to be able to support two teams. In Major League Baseball, you got the Dodgers and the Angels. In the NHL, you got the Kings and the Ducks. In the NBA, you got the Lakers, and of course, you got the Clippers. So, and these are billion-dollar firms. So the opportunity to own one of the two franchises in LA and to differentiate yourself, to us, seem huge. But here's some other things to consider. Try this on for size for pattern recognition and anticipation. This last year, nearly 27 million Americans turned in to watch the Women's World Cup final just this last year. It was one of the most watched soccer games for either men or women's sports in U.S. history. Now, I was watching myself. It was a blast, and I wasn't a big soccer fan prior to this, but we were literally on our couch screaming and yelling and cheering. It was incredible. But here's what's amazing. 27 million Americans watching that World Cup soccer final. How many people watch the Stanley Cup or the NBA Finals? I'll give you a clue. You can combine those in America, and more people watched Women's World Cup soccer this last year than the NBA Finals and Stanley Cup combined. How crazy is that? In fact, according to Forbes, America's most followed sports team is the LA Lakers, and they have 25.6 million followers in social media. But by comparison, if you pick up soccer and you look at, say, Barcelona, they have 100.9 million followers, and they're followed by Real Madrid, which is close behind them with 99.8 million followers. Just to give you contrast, the NFL has 32 teams, and if you combine all the followers of every NFL sports team, there's 98 million followers combined. That's still 1 million less than either Barcelona's soccer team or Real Madrid soccer team by themselves. So you don't have to be a genius to see these kinds of patterns and to anticipate. With millennials growing up playing soccer, it's a very different world than it was with kids that grew up playing baseball. It's a very different world, and these people are going to become giant fans. So Peter and I and a group of other owners, we all took the plunge, and we've worked our tails off. We've got some extraordinary partners, and they've pulled off some minor miracles. First, we had to find a great location to build a stadium, a state-of-the-art stadium, and we're able to get one, if you know Los Angeles, downtown LA, right by USC, right by the Coliseum, the old sports arena. We're tearing it down, and we're building a state-of-the-art $200 million soccer stadium. So all this sounds so brilliant. There's just one problem with my brilliant plan, and that is, you can imagine, when I got excited about this and I invested in the team almost 2 years ago, I lived in Southern California. Well, while we're going to build a stadium, build a team, I end up moving 2,000 miles away to Palm Beach, Florida. So what am I going to do? Travel 4,000 miles round trip to go to every game? I mean, no, of course not. And I don't want to sit there and watch it on TV. This is one place where a Star Trek teleporter would be pretty awesome, wouldn't it? Well, the next best thing to the teleporter is the technology I've been alluding to. And let me tell you, the first time I experienced it, I'll never forget. My reaction was probably not as dramatic as the viral video of the grandma on the virtual reality roller coaster, but I was truly astonished by what happened when I put a headset on. Here's the background. My dear friend Peter Gruber once again calls me up. I'm in London. I'm doing one of my Unleash the Power Within events. And he says, Tony, where are you? I said, I'm in London. He says, man, I have something I'm going to show you that is going to blow your mind. He said, Tony, you're going to experience it. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but once you experience it, I promise you, you're gonna be dumbfounded. He said, just do me a favor, fly straight here after London. I've got to show you this new technology. It's life-changing. That's all he told me. So I trust Peter impeccably, obviously. He's not somebody into hyperbole. And I flew right after the event. And I said, okay, so what is it? And he pulls out this little headset. And he said, are you familiar with Oculus Rift and virtual reality? I said, yeah, but I've not experienced it directly. He said, Tony, Oculus Rift, you have to plug into a computer. We have a technology that compresses live video streaming and allows you to literally be in the environment. And he said, I'm going to show you a little set of videos here. And he says, not video, it'll feel like you're there. Just put on this thing. So I put on this little headset made by Samsung. We snap in a phone, that's all it takes. And I go on a journey like I've never seen in my life. I mean, the first things that came out of my mouth was, oh my God. I started laughing because I sat down and all of a sudden there I was, literally on courtside at an NBA Warriors basketball game. And it literally, wherever I looked, I was there. I sat in those same exact seats during the NBA championship last year. I was privileged to be right there, literally on the courtside. And all of a sudden, there's Curry right in front of me making a three-point shot. It literally felt like I could reach out and touch him. I looked behind me and saw all the people beside me, around me. I was literally in the experience. It was mind-boggling. Then I went to a baseball game, then to a hockey game, then I went to a concert. And it literally, right there in front of me, it's like you could reach out, if you can imagine, and feel like Beyonce or Jay-Z or Rihanna is right there singing to you 2 feet from you. I mean, it was like nothing I'd ever imagined seeing. It wasn't like watching 3D television. It literally puts you in the experience. I mean, if you can imagine, you could be right behind the basket as someone is slamming it. You could be behind your favorite team. You could be right there courtside. Or in any other sport, watching hockey, I had seats right on the glass, and the guy came and smashed up against it, and my body reeled backwards like this guy was going to hit me as if I was physically there. I mean, if you can really imagine what it would be like to be at whatever your favorite sport is or concert and truly be there without ever leaving your living room, no traffic, no drunk guy spilling his beer on down your back on the side, how's that for some added value to your clients? Now, remember, I'm telling you this because this is not about a sports team. I'm just using it as a metaphor to show you what this technology is going to do. Remember, success in business is all about falling in love with your client, not falling in love with your product or service. See, when you fall in love with your product or service, a competitor is going to come by and they're going to change the game, the rules of the game. Society is going to change. Technology is going to shift things. Your goal and my goal is really simple in business. You got to run the business you're in and keep running it and making it as successful and profitable as you can. But you also have to be anticipating and build the business you're going to become. And in order to do that, you got to know what's coming, and you got to fall in love with your clients and say, how do I meet their needs in an even better way instead of getting stuck on thinking you're in a particular industry? In other words, so often what I do with founders of businesses, I say to them, look, you really got to think about what business are you really in? You're not in the sports business where people have to come to you. You're in the entertainment business, and you got to find a way to bring the greatest entertainment to the largest number of people possible. If you do that, you're going to prosper on a different level. You know, I asked Brad Allen, who you're about to meet in a few moments here. He's a dear friend of mine and one of the founders of the organization that has taken this technology to the next level. It's called NextVR, by the way. And I asked him, what is this going to do really to the sports industry and for the millions or, really billions of sports fans around the world? And he said, Tony, I got to tell you something. The vast majority of sports fans will never step foot in a stadium or arena. And I remember saying to him, I said, how do you say that's possible? I mean, if you're a true fan, even if you don't have a lot of money, you still find a way to get to the game. Even if you have lousy seats, you just want to be there. And Brad said, Tony, it's true, but NextVR will change that. He said the undeniable value that virtual reality brings is that now you have an experience that's never happened in business before. You're able to give your clients a direct experience, a sensory experience, seeing, hearing, feeling like they're there. In fact, get this, they're already working on a haptic touch technology and electronic muscle stimulators so they can effectively trick your body into feeling the vibrations, the pressure, the tactile sensations. You literally are transported to the world. They have a device right now that they're working on that would allow you during halftime to use your hand and practice taking basketball shots as if the basketball's in your hand, and you'll see where the ball really goes, whether you make it or whether it bounces off the rim or you have an air ball. I mean, the world we're about to enter is going to look like magic compared to where we were. And you got to remember, it was only how many years ago? 7 years ago that we had the situation where we came up with these phones now that we can't part with, right? The iPhone. I mean, before 7 years ago, I mean, our phone was just a phone. Now, if that thing disappears, it's your outboard brain. This is the type of technology change that will change all businesses. So now listen, NextVR is the company I'm talking about, and that we've been broadcasting. I'm an investor in the company now, and we've been broadcasting to anyone who has a virtual reality headset. Now, Samsung has them for like less than $100, where your phone just snaps into this thing and works. Right now, Google has worked on some of these that are made out of the goggles. They're made out of cardboard, so they cost next to nothing, so that tens of millions of people have access to this type of technology. But we've been delivering this to give you an idea. We've delivered NBA games, the Masters, National Hockey League games, boxing, NASCAR, the NCAA March Madness, just to name a few. And we just made a deal with Live Nation so that we can deliver the best concerts in the world. Again, imagine your favorite star right there, and you have the best seats you could possibly imagine. You don't have to leave your house. And you look around, you hear it, you experience it as if you're there. In fact, right now, NextVR projects that we'll have 15 to 25 million users literally by the end of the year, because they're anticipating this enormous opportunity in the marketplace, and they've innovated to meet customers' needs in a way no one else has. There's no walk to a computer on this. It literally comes out of your phone. So think about it. If you're in business and you own a stadium and you always sell it out, like my friend Peter Guber does, he sells 20,000 seats to a Golden State Warrior game, that's all he can sell. But now, from a business perspective, he's not limited to the number of seats. He can sell that same courtside seat to 100,000 people, 500,000 people, 1 million people, as many people as literally want it. And so everything that you can imagine goes to a different level of profitability, to a different level of scale. But if you don't anticipate this kind of technology coming, you'll be busy doing business like everybody else in the past, and you'll get passed by, you'll get dwarfed. You see, I think one of the most important lessons that I try to impart in all my business coaching clients, again, is you've got to know what business you're really in. Again, you're not in the basketball business, you're in the entertainment business. When you know what business you're really in and you fall in love with your clients and you're constantly searching for a way to add more value to them, you're going to find answers. And the technology that you're going to learn about in this specific podcast can provide that kind of leverage to your business. Or maybe just knowing these patterns will help you guide yourself to say, where are some companies I might want to invest in that might have significant or even unlimited, by most people's ideas, of upside. So here's the beautiful thing, though. And I'm going to introduce the person you're going to listen to during our interview here. And that is, this doesn't stop at sports. Imagine a teacher using virtual reality to take students to the Great Pyramids, and they literally feel like they're climbing and they're there. They get to the top and have the perspective. They feel the fear of climbing it, but at the same time, they're still safe. Or a company using technology to give customers an entire new level of customer service. Or how about dating apps where the person is right there before you go on a date? I mean, think of all the ways you could add value if you really tapped into this technology. And what if you were first? What if you're the first in your industry? It would give you an unfair competitive advantage, which is what this podcast is all about. So, without further ado, I'm thrilled to have the executive chairman of NextVR, Brad Allen, as our guest on today's episode. And Brad's a pioneer. He's an innovator. He's a leader. You know, he's my business partner and he's my dear friend. And he's a whiz in the tech startup and e-commerce space. And he's kind of an absolute, I've considered to be mastermind when it comes to cultivating and growing businesses so you stay ahead of the curve and you find ways to add value to clients that give you that unfair competitive advantage. He's going to offer you an insight into the near future, not 10 years from now, but the next 12 to 18 to 24 months. And he's going to show you where there's going to be a major gold rush you might want to figure out how to take advantage of. So how will this technology impact the landscape of the business you operate in? Or how will the leverage of this technology give you an advantage in either investing or building your business? That's what I want you to think about as you now meet my dear friend, Brad Allen.
Virtual reality is officially out of the development phase and is now a real and tangible technology that anyone can get their hands on. Virtual reality, or VR as we'll be referring to it here, is an incredible technology because it can make you feel like you're somewhere else entirely. Nothing that has come before it, TV, 3D movies, even immersive video games, can compare to the experience of stepping fully inside of a virtual world. And the best part about that world is it can be anything you want it to be. It can be a place you would never be able to go to normally, or somewhere with restricted access, or just expensive access. Want to sit courtside at the NBA Finals? How about watching your favorite football team play from the 50-yard line, or see a high-energy boxing match from just a few feet away? The company that's making this happen is called NextVR. It was founded in 2009 by experts in stereoscopic imaging, developing compression technology for 3D TV, and then moving into virtual reality in 2012 in the second big wave of its development. The company made big waves this fall when it broadcasted the Golden State Warriors' first game in virtual reality. And this past February, NextVR signed a 5-year deal with Fox Sports, the network that broadcasts all major sporting events, including NASCAR, NFL, Major League Baseball, and the U.S. Open Golf Championship. Here to speak with us about how virtual reality is rapidly changing how we experience the world we live in is the executive chairman of NextVR, Brad Allen. Brad, thanks so much for joining us today.
Great, thank you. Great to be here. Or there.
I'd love to start out with a question I think a lot of people are asking right now. Is this worth paying attention to, or is it, like 3D television seems to be, an innovation that sounds good but doesn't really mean much for the average person?
Well, it's very, very different than 3D television. So I think if you've had the opportunity to try it, you would see how different it is. 3D television really, I mean, it's an improvement, a marginal improvement of what we're already watching on TV. I think the biggest change from TV was when we went from regular TV to HD. 3D television added a third dimension to it, so you had a little bit of depth, but you're still sitting in your room. VR, virtual reality, is immersive completely. I mean, you're putting on a pair of glasses or a pair of goggles, as they're called right now, and I mean, you're immersed. So as you look around, you are seeing what the camera is seeing wherever that camera is. So as you talked about a courtside seat at an NBA game, we have our cameras placed on the courtside table, which is typically the scorer's table, and what the camera sees, which is a full 180 or 360, depending. You look to your right, you're going to see the basket at the right side. You look to your left, you're going to see the basket at the left side. So this is entirely different than 3D TV.
So Goldman Sachs has predicted that virtual reality is going to be an $80 billion business. Is that accurate? How big do you think it's going to be? And how fast is it going to grow?
Well, I'm not sure about the numbers. I know it's going to be big, though. I can tell that by a couple of reasons. One is the fact that everybody who sees and tries virtual reality for the first time has that same oh my gosh reaction, because it is unlike anything we've seen before. I mean, if you talk about the major mediums that we've had in our lifetime, it was radio, it was TV, and now there's VR. And you think about how big it's going to be. I mean, there are so many uses for VR. I always kind of say, I mean, the whole world can be done in VR because it transports you there live to a place that you're sitting in your living room, and all of a sudden now you're in Machu Picchu, or you're courtside at a game, or on the field at an NFL game, whatever it may be.
And on that note, I was going to say, you guys are really pioneering the field of VR in live action sports. Can you talk a little bit about the sporting events that you've already covered and how you believe VR is just changing the entire landscape of sports and entertainment?
There's a couple things. Well, first off, we've covered pretty much every sport. I mean, on the planet. So the most popular sport in the world is soccer, and we've done Manchester United Barcelona match. So English Premier League. We've done tests with the NFL. We've done a lot of work with the NBA, NHL, MLB, every major sport. So how is it changing the landscape of sports? I mean, it really is. It really does. It's the virtual ticket. It's the ticket that, one, even if you had the money, you possibly wouldn't even be able to go anyway. So, for example, we did the Masters last weekend. So we had cameras on holes 6 and 16, and if you were sitting at home, you had the Gear VR, and you're able to tune in, and you're live, like you're sitting in the gallery looking there at the green or the tee box. So it really is. It's bringing the virtual ticket to the world, because, as you know, everything is connected now. So it really is. It's a really big game changer, and it's not going to replace ever going in person. I mean, there's nothing like sitting next to all these, whether it's 18,000 or 80,000 fans cheering and going crazy for your favorite team. But it does bring you to a seat that even if you could afford it, you may not be able to get it because of the camera access.
Yeah, that actually brings up something that I think Tony alluded to when we were speaking to him about it, is that, some people say that the VR experience could be isolating, right? Because it moves the individual away from that collective experience, that excitement and that energy, and those real social interactions. But do you think that there are there going to be new developments or ways that the virtual reality experience can actually be more social? Is there social viewing coming to the landscape?
Yeah, there definitely is. I mean, there's a lot of social actions that you can be doing while I mean, first off, you're using your mobile device to get the live stream. The mobile device is used for talking. You could be talking to your friends while you're watching the event. You can be building a virtual, it's called a luxury box, right? And invite all your friends, and you can create avatars of who you want to be. And then depending on where your friends are, I mean, they could be anywhere in the world. You could all be watching the same thing together in that same seat. And I'll refer to the courtside seat. That's the easiest to visualize. But, just think about it. Your friends are all over the world. You connect to everybody just like you do on Skype, right? I mean, you see which friends are on, and then you're going to hit that button and talk to them. Same thing can be done in VR. And this can make it, you experiencing with your friends unlike ever before. So, right now, it does feel isolating because there's not that many users in the market yet, but that is changing rapidly. And once there are millions, tens of millions, which by the end of this year, there's projections of 10 to 20 million, fans out there that'll have VR headsets or glasses. All of a sudden, now you've got a real market, and you can see which one of your friends have that, and invite them to watch alongside of you.
Isn't there also something coming in terms of user-generated content? So the idea of people using VR as a new digital media platform to create images, videos, and communicate with other people through that. What does that look like?
Yeah, I think that's going to take a little more time to develop. I mean, GoPro has been exceptional at getting user-generated content, and you put it on YouTube, and this is a little bit different because when you're in a 360 world and you're totally immersed in that world by putting on a pair of VR glasses, if you're setting the camera up and it's in a fixed position, that's one thing. But what VR is basically is you're representing where the camera is placed. So if you start moving that camera around, like if you're going to put a camera at the end of a surfboard, that could be a little jarring. So you have to be careful around the user-generated content at this point. I think everybody's going to get a hang of it and realize that you can't be putting it on a mountain bike and start going down a hill. If you have a horizon to kind of focus on, but you have heard, I'm sure, of people feeling a little disoriented in VR. But people will figure it out.
Yeah, they're actually right now, if you go on YouTube and you ask, or if you search for people's reactions to virtual reality, there are a lot of videos of people being completely disoriented, and it's pretty entertaining.
Right.
So moving on to maybe different uses that our listeners might not know about, are there other applications that you foresee for this technology? And, I know outside of sporting events, there's this whole idea of other entertainment and different types of venues, and travel, hospitality. But are there any particular applications that you think are just kind of right around the bend from the live action sports space that you're playing in right now?
Yeah, well, I think music is huge. Obviously, there are tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions of music fans around the world. So that's another really interesting one that's going to be very exciting, because imagine you click in, you buy the virtual ticket, and now you've got 4 or 5 camera positions in or on the stage of your favorite performer. So, now I want to be next to the drummer. Now I want to be facing the singer. Now I want to see the view from the crowd. So music is an easy one because it puts you in a seat that you can't even buy a ticket for. So that's one of the things. I think education is going to be huge. The application there is massive, because think about, everybody else is you're looking through and before videos even, but you're looking at books and a plain picture, and okay, now all of a sudden I think kids are going to come home from school and go, well, what'd you do today? Well, we went to, not looked at, but we went to the pyramids and walked around the pyramids, and you feel like you're actually there. So I think the educational part, other applications are medical, and it goes on, security, it goes on and on. It really applies to everything.
It's funny when you said education, I was thinking about kids in school, but also business education and training. Because I will say that a lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs and small business owners. And I think some of the business applications are interesting if you're a big brand, right? So when we were viewing the Masters tournament, and Dave in the office was saying, "Hey, there's advertising opportunities, and a lot of big brands are kind of knocking down the door to try to get in on this." But for a small business owner who might not necessarily have the budget to reach millions of people through that sort of TV-like advertising opportunity, what are some other applications that they might be interested in other than, what I just mentioned, how they might be cutting costs in the ability to train people who are remote employees in a much more immersive way than just doing webinars or phone calls?
That's right, because you're looking at a flat screen, right? This is what we've grown up with our entire lives in history, is looking at a rectangle, whether it's a big screen, a small screen. But the feeling you get, so think about these business owners who are training someone or around marketing their product. I mean, it creates a whole nother element and dimension that is unlike anything before. And it really does make you feel immersed, and it makes you feel like you're there. So from the training to, again, like marketing a product or something like that, it's going to give a person a feeling that they've never had before, around their business.
Sure. Another a big principle that Tony always speaks about in his business seminars is about customer service as well, right? We're living in an age where people have very high expectations for customer service, and now through social media and live chat, they are really getting a lot higher quality of service from businesses, whether they're large or small. So that's another pretty fascinating component, right, is that you might be able to really up the ante on your customer service if you incorporate virtual reality, even if you're a small business owner.
That's right, because then now all of a sudden someone can dial in and not just talk to a person or see a person. Maybe there's a product they're having trouble with, and they could be looking at it. The customer service person could be showing them the product, turning it around, doing all these things that it's when it's in stereoscopic and 3D, it really gives you a much better sense of the actual product itself, or even the explanation from the customer service person. I mean, it's going to really change the way that people interact. I mean, there's no question about it.
So going back to what you guys are involved in, is there anything in the near future, in the rest of 2016 or into 2017 that you are very excited about? I know there's probably things you can't talk about, but are there things
true.
on the horizon that you can sort of share?
Well, I can categorize the things, and again, we're focused on bringing the biggest brands, sporting events, and music to the masses. Right. This is what's going to get people interested in virtual reality if they're not already, if they haven't seen it, which is a small percentage of the population. But one of the things that's really exciting is that, as an example, so Manchester United has 650 million fans in the world, which I think is the biggest fan base ever. How many of those people are ever going to get to Manchester, England to watch a match, right? But if you can watch it virtually, this opens up the entire world to experiencing an event that is unique to anything we've ever seen before. So we are focused, again, because of our live streaming capabilities, which that in itself is amazing. I mean, the VOD side of the business, which is, you're recording something and then you can go back and play it. That's all great. But, sports, especially live, I mean, once you know the outcome of the game, whatever, or the match, it's not as exciting, certainly. So the live portion of this is really what is exciting for us, just being able to, like the Masters yesterday, you can't even get that ticket, even if you have the money. Now all of a sudden you're in your living room and you're transported there sitting next to the green. And that goes true for all the major sports, all the major sporting events. Think about the rest of the year. Pick your top 10 events. Those are going to be happening in VR from us. And then think about music and all the top acts in music. We are going to be doing some other things, which we'll be announcing soon. But around sports and music, look forward to some incredible experiences. And, if you had your kind of wish list for the top events of the year, those are going to be in VR, and you're actually going to be able to go to them. Not physically, but virtually. You will be there. You will have your front row ticket and more.
So in the coming year, if have all of these events, I mean, it sounds incredible, right? You never run out of content. And one of the things that Dave had alluded to as well is that, every week there's something exciting going on. So you've got other digital media streaming platforms where they have to generate content, right? They have to buy series, they have to create entertainment and then launch it on their platform. Whereas with this, you have all of this happening organically, right? Like all of the excitement around these sporting events is happening, outside of what you're creating. So that's really fascinating. You're talking about people having access to it, and it's something that has an almost infinite reach. What are the current user adoption rates like, and how fast are we moving? I asked you earlier about, that huge number that it's going to be this $80 billion industry. But what are you guys seeing in terms of numbers, or what do you sort of talk about when you speak to stakeholders about how fast the adoption rates really are, and what kind of saturation levels are you guys seeing today?
Well, first off, I always talk about there's two things for virtual reality to really be mass market, right? One is you have to have the adoption of the VR goggles, headsets, glasses, whatever you want to call them, some viewing device that you're either plugging into your PC, your phone, or your PlayStation. And then secondly, you need compelling content. So we're solving, we think, the second part of that equation, which is the compelling content. Millions, billions of sports fans, music fans around the world, all anxious to see their team, their artist in VR. Fortunately, we have on the first part of the equation, we've got the biggest companies in the world that are all building VR hardware. So Oculus, which is now owned by Facebook, they just released the Oculus Rift literally last week. Then you've got the Samsung Gear VR, and Samsung's the biggest phone maker in the world. That's for the mobile side of things. HTC Vive, which again is a PC-based VR set of goggles, and Sony PlayStation VR. Then there's also, which goes with the PlayStation. You literally could go out, buy the headset. This comes out in October, by the way. Plug it into your PlayStation, and now you're going to see a whole menu of really compelling content. But every major phone manufacturer, every technology company are all building for virtual reality. So I think that's the thing that is really exciting. You've got billions and billions and billions of dollars. Everyone sees this as the next computing platform, as well as the next medium. And you've got the biggest players in the world that are building for this. So, the numbers we've seen, they vary in terms of users, 10 to 20 million users by the end of this year, 50 to 70 million by next year, and then it's going to be in the hundreds of millions after that. Eventually, everybody's going to have a pair of VR glasses in the same way they have mobile phones. And they're going to be glasses. They're going to think about like a pair of Oakley sunglasses wrap around that are lightweight, that you're taking your mobile device, if that's what we have in the next 3 years, if we still have the mobile device, but you're Bluetoothing and boom, now I'm at a beach in Hawaii, or I'm at the courtside seat at the NBA game.
Will they look cooler than Google Glass?
They will definitely look cooler than Google Glass. I mean, I think what we're going to end up with is a pair of glasses that can be VR glasses where you're totally immersed, or they're AR, which is augmented reality, when you're adding in to the existing environment. You're looking around in the room that you're in right now, you're seeing the room, and then as you want to add things in, you can be adding things in. And then when you want to walk outside, there'll be regular sunglasses. That's where this is going.
So you mentioned that this is the new IT medium and that ultimately it could replace your mobile phone. What's the relationship now between virtual reality and mobile? Because right now mobile, right, it's the first screen, right? It's everybody's device of choice. So how is that shift going to occur, and what will it look like in the interim?
Well, I mean, we're still going to have some kind of device. I mean, the fact that we even have watches now, right? Could those eventually replace which we're going to look back and go, wow, remember those big mobile phones, which is like an iPhone right now?
Yep.
So where those go, do they end up just in a pair of glasses? Do they end up embedded in? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but
implantables.
If you think about, if you think about how technology has evolved, and it's evolving so rapidly now, it's incredible. But the relationship between VR and the mobile devices today, every mobile manufacturer is building for VR right now, whether they're taking the existing mobile phone and making the screen a 4K screen because it's being put in front of a pair of VR glasses that is getting magnified, or putting all the functionality that may be in the Gear VR today is actually being put into the phone itself. And the good news is, I think, for the VR industry as a whole, is the fact that as mobile phone sales have kind of plateaued out, like everybody's kind of got their smartphone now, and there's going to be new iterations and new models and new things like this, but now they're all building their phones for virtual reality, which I think is going to be great for the industry.
So those are the sort of viewing devices on the consumer side. I know, your big point of differentiation in the marketplace, right, is the cameras. So is that something that you're going to keep proprietary in the near future? And then ultimately, is that something that, businesses would be able to purchase to be able to sort of stream content themselves?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're using really high-end broadcast quality cameras. They're all modified and customized for us for capturing these big events in VR. So we have to use the high end. I mean, we're all about the quality, and because of the partners that we have, whether it's with the sports leagues or the broadcasters or big global brands, they all want the highest quality possible for their product. But ultimately, we're going to have a camera system, and just like everything else happens in technology, they're going to get smaller, less expensive, and ultimately we will be able to provide those camera systems to business owners or others that want to capture VR for themselves.
All right. Well, thanks, Brad. It's been great talking to you. It sounds like you guys are taking big steps in the field of virtual reality, and we're very much looking forward to seeing what's around the bend with NextVR.
Well, we're excited too. I must say this is the most fun I've ever had in my career. For a couple of reasons. One is I love sports and music, which is always exciting. You have people that are super passionate about both of those things. And the other is just seeing how people react to this, because it's unlike anything you've ever seen before. If you haven't tried it, I would recommend find a friend or see how you can try it somewhere, because it's very exciting. I mean, this is going to change the world. There is no question about it. And you've got the biggest players in the world that are all involved, and the excitement level is, again, I've never seen anything like it. So I'm just having a great time. We all are.
Great. Thanks so much, Brad.
Okay. Thank you very much. Fantastic.
Do you have the right mindset and skills to take your business to the next level? Business Mastery is the only event in the world created by Tony Robbins to prepare you to master the mindset and skills you need in business to elevate your game. A one-of-a-kind, immersive program, Business Mastery will allow you to understand the critical factors impacting your business, then refocus and realign with the strategy and psychology you need to compete and innovate in any economy. Remember, business success is 80% psychology and 20% mechanics. If you're ready to learn and master the strategies to help you grow your business and stay competitive, then don't hesitate. Apply for the next Business Mastery program now. Learn more about the Business Mastery event at www.tonyrobbins.com. The Tony Robbins podcast is directed by Tony Robbins, hosted by Anna York, and produced by Carrie Song. Brooks Loro is our digital editor. Tyler Culbertson is our media coordinator. Special thanks to Diane Adcock for her creative review. Our website is tonyrobbins.com/podcast, where you can listen to all of our episodes, read articles, and learn more about upcoming events. Copyright Robbins Research International.